Hello and welcome to Game Changer. I'm Maryam Zia. Tonight we will be talking about the recent situation in Gaza. When we talk about, of course, the conflict that has been going on for 21 months now and has killed more than 57,000 innocent Palestinians is continuing, and more than 700,000 people have been displaced so far in this conflict. And when we look at this humanitarian crisis that is unfolding now before our eyes, Israeli Prime Minister Netanyahu has arrived in Washington to meet President Donald Trump for the third time this year. And this is for the first time that we are witnessing some kind of flexibility on the part of Israeli Prime Minister when we look at the ceasefire talks that are going to be taking place. And in today's program, we will be talking about different dimensions of these ceasefire efforts, how they are going to be different from the previous ceasefire efforts. We note that, and when we look at the statements coming from US President Donald Trump, he said that there is a good chance of a ceasefire agreement this week. Hamas has also responded positively to this ceasefire proposal, but has sought key amendments. We will be looking at those amendments and what needs to be done. And of course, with indirect talks going on between Israeli delegation and Hamas, Netanyahu is also under a lot of pressure, not only from President Donald Trump, but from his domestic, of course, citizens as well, and domestic politics as well. Tonight, we discuss the ground realities in Gaza and, of course, the larger Middle East, and what are the sticking points as far as this ceasefire efforts is concerned, and how do we see this situation unfolding, whether or not US, Israel and the Palestinian stakeholders would be able to reach a ceasefire agreement or not. We will be discussing in today's program. To discuss this and more, we are joined in the studios by Mr. Moheed, who is Middle East expert. Welcome to the program. We're also joined by Foreign Affairs expert, Dr. Amna Mehmood. Welcome to the program. And we are joined online by former ambassador, Dr. Jamil Ahmad Khan. Welcome to the program. Mr. Nazir, let me start with you. Of course, when we look at this situation, in your opinion, my direct question is, are these current ceasefire efforts a hope or just an illusion in the larger context, with President Donald Trump saying that there is a good chance that we will be reaching a ceasefire agreement later this week? What's your take on this?
Well, yes, there is so much hope from this potential ceasefire, and the Palestinians, they have hope for any possible relief to their miserable situation. While Israel is actually trying to gain the best and the major gain from this ceasefire. They are not willing to stop the war, but they are willing to just gain the benefits of the ceasefire. They are still under pressure from their local community, who are protesting every day. They are under pressure from the whole world, who turned against them due to the genocide they are carrying in Gaza. So we have a hope that the international community bring more pressure on this the Zionist regime occupy to Gaza, so they stop their crimes.
Right. And Dr. Amna, when we look at this situation and the ongoing ceasefire talks, How do you see these efforts, or this round of discussions is different from the previous efforts? Because already we know that Netanyahu has met with President Donald Trump 3 times only this year. And of course, indirect talks are also taking place in Doha, Qatar, between Hamas and from delegations of Israel as well. So with Trump claiming that there is a good chance of ceasefire agreement reaching at this point in time, what's your take?
Thank you very much for having me. There are three major differences which were not there in the previous talks of ceasefire. One is the very visible that Israel was talking with the power position at that time. It was almost a conqueror, making and creating miseries, genocide in Palestine. Now, Israel, though it is doing the same, but its power to fight, its powers to resist, its powers to fight back to its neighboring countries is compromised, especially after the attack from Iran. You see that how Iranians defeated Israel, that it backed for ceasefire, and Mr. Trump has to intervene and stop Iran from expanding war. And it is actually the response of Israeli people also, who were determined to end up the Gaza Strip from the map. But now they have first time tasted what they have done with the rest of the world, especially the neighboring countries and Gazans. So they are putting pressure on Mr. Netanyahu to end up this war and come out of that. The third thing which is different is the American response. You know, America is always on the backing of Israel, whatever they do. But this time, Mr. Trump, as he committed that he would be the peacemaker, though he did not prove that, and he entered into attack directly on Iran. But after that, he wanted to stop war, and he want to win the Mr. Trump want to win the Nobel Prize for peace. So. Yeah. Three things are very important, right. And these developments would lead, and there is a hope that these three things would lead to a permanent ceasefire. And as Hamas is asserting that they would go for permanent ceasefire, not for interim ceasefire, which happened in the last period.
A very important points raised, and I would be circling back to Netanyahu's nomination of President Donald Trump for Nobel Peace Prize. But Dr. Jamil Ahmad, like Dr. Amna alluded to, three significant points that are under discussion. When we talk about this round of ceasefire efforts, Netanyahu has agreed to 60-day ceasefire, but demands that Hamas be politically and militarily destroyed. Do you think these are contradictory goals? And also, when we look at the statement from Hamas side, they have also given a very positive response, but demanded UN aid distribution and military withdrawal from specific zones. Do you think these are unacceptable points at this point in time?
As he was clear for the last 30 years in his entire political career, for three things. One, that he says he doesn't believe in Palestine as a separate state, number one. Number two, about Hamas, he says that unless we achieve our goal, we'll continue our operation. So what does it mean? It means even the ceasefire would have some of those conditions. Number 3 point, that Hamas was very positive. Hamas based its negotiation on the basis of the March ceasefire, which was violated by Israel, as it has been always violating all the international laws of any agreement between the countries. So it has been violated. So before the second phase could start in March, it violated. And what were those conditions? Basically, Hamas wanted, and a very genuine one, that United Nations UNRWA should take over the distribution points of the food. And they have a very cogent ground for it, because those distribution points of the food have become killing zone. And therefore, anyone who has already been targeted through the AI system, through the cloud, and they are lured in to come and collect the food, and they are killed there. So that becomes a killing zone, and therefore Hamas wanted that it should go back to the UN distribution management system. And there are about just a couple of distribution points where they cannot really meet the requirement of the entire population. Third point, and the most important point on which Donald Trump has also given indication yesterday, and Netanyahu, that they are in negotiation with the neighboring countries, that the Gazan, the people from Gaza should migrate. And Netanyahu is one part, but Donald Trump was also of the same opinion. He's on record saying and asking certain countries, naming certain countries, that you should accept this. So now he says that he's quite hopeful that some of the neighboring countries would accept. What does it imply? It takes us to into the history, and the history starts from 1897, once the Zionism was established. The very movement of Zionism was established in Switzerland, and from there onward, they decided to create a country, and they did that in 1948 by demolishing and by killing people, demolishing about 554 small and big cities of Palestine, and they have captured and they have occupied those land. In 1967, they did the same thing, and I'm coming on what is happening now. So 1967, United Nations Resolution 242, and it is still not been invoked, that all the land which has been occupied by Palestine should be captured. Let's talk about the current situation. Current situation since 7th October 23, the West Bank people, the settlers, Israeli, they have started encroaching the land of Palestine even more than it's dozens of those houses were really demolished and settlement. Now, what is now from here? Hamas, one thing Netanyahu is very clear, and his Minister of Defense yesterday made a statement that from tomorrow, which I doubt, from tomorrow Hamas would not be seen in Gaza. This is what they wanted, that there shouldn't be any resistance. Although both India and Israel, they have lamented resistance as the terrorist group. Whereas in the world, there are about 10 countries where the resistance movement took place, and those groups and those entities, they got their territory and they got their occupied land back. And that includes East Timor also, where I have been deployed from the United Nations platform, and I've seen things happening with my own eyes. So they have been, and both India as also the Kashmiri freedom fighters, the India has tried its best, though this time they have failed miserably, that they are the terrorists, and therefore about 1 million security forces, they are justified in that occupied territory. Let's come back to Palestine. Now it's quite, now the favorable condition for Israel, that they have been able to almost achieve their goal in terms of ethnic cleansing, and if they are able to push the people out from the Gaza Strip, it would be definitely ethnic cleansing. They are involved in multiple genocide. They are doing it, and why they did that? All because they wanted to make the miserable condition of living there without food, without water, people getting stunted, and therefore they would have no choice either to leave or get killed there. So that situation exists, and therefore
Dr. Jamil,
ceasefire is
as
now possible.
right, of course, a very important point raised by you, and given the context and the history and the efforts that are being made for displacement of these over 2.3 million people, how do you see the status of these ceasefire efforts? Do you think these are rather personal branding attempts to go for Nobel Peace Prize by President Donald Trump, since he branded himself as a peacemaker and negotiator in his campaigning? Or do you think there is going to be an actual impact of these round of negotiations this time around? Because at one hand, we are witnessing negotiations happening, but at the same time, Israel has intensified its bombing in Gaza.
Well, yes, even though that all the negotiations are happening in the Doha, Qatar, between the two representatives of Hamas and Israeli part. But still Donald Trump is the one who is gaining the name of or the rank of peacemaker. Well, definitely he's playing a part in backing up Israel and its demands. And he's trying to...
And it is also the first time, Mr. Nazir, that we are witnessing that Netanyahu has shown some kind of flexibility as far as negotiations are concerned, because there is a lot of pressure from President Trump.
Well, till now, Netanyahu is not showing any acceptable flexibility. He's under pressure. He's sacrificing whatsoever possible just to not decrease his demands, but he's under a lot of pressure from the American government, from the whole world, and from his people as well, because the loss he faced due to the war he started with Iran, and due to not achieving his objectives in Gaza after around 2 years of fighting there. So he's under a lot of pressure, which force him to decrease his demands. This will definitely make things more possible, more easy for the Palestinian part, and we hope that it will bring positive things, inshallah, to the ceasefire deal.
Right. But Mr. Nazir, how do you see and what, in your opinion, is the significance of this 60-day window, especially when we talk about it realistically? Do you think this is going to be a pause in the current ongoing conflict and the fighting, or do you think that there is going to be a day after for Gaza?
Well, the countries who are trying to bring the negotiations into similarity or into better understanding from the two parties, they are encouraging both parties that this ceasefire will not be just a break in the war, but it will lead to stopping the war after 60 days and bringing both sides to continuous and to final negotiations to end this war after the 60 days. Well, Netanyahu, he's not planning to end the war. His demand is still to disarm Gaza from any militant organizations, including Hamas, Al-Jihad, and other organizations like Shuhada al-Aqsa and others. And his plan, which he discussed with his cabinet, is to make a small humanitarian city in the south of Gaza, to shift all the people of Gaza there, so the whole Gaza will be empty for his military operations. Hamas, from its part, it's not accepting this, even though they are coming to the negotiations, and they are putting all their pressure, putting all their efforts to make these negotiations successful in the ceasefire, just to safeguard their people, safeguard the people of Gaza, even though their militant power is not so much affected. They are still very powerful. They are carrying on daily basis very complicated and professional operations on the ground.
And do you think that at this point in time, Israel's military is also exhausted from the ongoing war, because this is the 21st month of the war and we are reaching at 2 years point, and after of course conflict with Iran. Do you think this is practically possible for Israel to continue?
Israel, it have no problem to continue, because they don't care about their people, they don't care about their army. All their objectives, all their goals are to occupy more land and to make the dream of the great Israel true. They didn't try to save their hostages in a good manner, in a peaceful way. They killed themselves, their hostages. They killed their own people in the protocol of Hannibal. They don't allow the Hamas. They didn't allow Hamas to take hostages. They killed the hostages themselves, so they are not under pressure in the negotiations.
Right, right. And Dr. Amna, of course, very important points raised by Mr. Nazir, but I'll be coming back to building the humanitarian city that, of course, Israeli Defense Minister and Israeli cabinet is talking about. And of course, Mr. Trump also mentioned about this a few months earlier. But first, I want your take on what are the main sticking points as we talk of the ongoing ceasefire efforts that are taking place not only in Washington in the meeting of Israeli Prime Minister with President Donald Trump and his staff members, but also the indirect talks that are being taken place between Israeli delegation and Hamas.
I think Israel is giving a sugar-coated solution, and they are asking for the same one: evacuation of Gaza. The whole land would be occupied by the Israeli forces, or either they suggest that it would be occupied some of the neighbors of Israel who have already signed Abraham Accord or are going to be signed very soon. Another alternate that there would be a humanitarian city, and that would be a brief one, and that would be for the people who were to be placed there to migrate to other neighboring countries.
And to separate those citizens from Hamas.
From those Hamas. And when we are talking about Hamas, certainly Gazans are ordinary civilians, and Hamas is not a militant organization under the international law. That is actually the elected government of Gaza. And Netanyahu has no right to be judgmental about their existence and their evacuation and their separation from the population of Palestine. So what we feel that these negotiations, these plans are just a bluff to actually implement those plans of Israel, which it could not do during the 21 years of war. They cannot subdue Gazans population. They could not starve them and then force them to move out of Gaza. They are still resilient, they are dying, they are starving, but they are still there. They are living without medicine, without food, they are living without
even eating grass. The situation is such dire.
Without water, you see. But they are resilient to stay there. It means that they cannot defeat that nation. And secondly, the world opinion. The world opinion is apparently world opinion doesn't matter for Israel, but it matters. You see that all the European governments are changed. The political parties who were in power before Gaza crisis are not in power now. And Mr. Trump, if he is back in power, he was on the promise of returning to peace, and if he could not do that, he would not be having a second term, right?
But at the same time, I want your take on, since you mentioned about President Trump branding himself as a peacemaker and for ending ending these wars in Middle East and of course in war in Ukraine as well. But at the same time, Mr. Trump earlier alluded to, of course, mentioned about in different statements of the displacement of this population and making Gaza the Riviera of the Middle East. So, do you think this is going to be happening by Israel with the push of Donald Trump?
You see, it is the irony of international politics that you see that Mr. Obama was given a Peace Prize for his services to humanity when he decided to evacuate his armies from Iraq. And though it was forced and Americans could not stay anymore. Same is the case with Mr. Obama's credit that he decided to withdraw forces from Afghanistan. That is actually the peace which was enforced on the United States president. Otherwise, you see that they never come to compromise as far as peace is concerned. And what to talk about Israel? Israel cannot continue war, and it is very much visible, though apparently, as Nazir is saying, that they can fight because they are enormous resources on their disposal by the United States and all European powers. But as far as people of Israel are concerned, they are resenting, they are sick of being living in underground shelters, and it is very hard for them to absorb that Israeli power, military power is compromised, and they first time felt the heat of defeat. So, I think that Mr. Netanyahu is just trying to bail him out with a dignified solution, and that dignified solution is again a disaster for Israel, for Gazans, because they have to leave their place, they have to vacate their land, and there would be no two-state solution. So, what is the outcome? Where is the peace? So, it is all the illusions which are created in the name of peace plan by the United States and with Mr. Netanyahu and even those countries who have signed Abraham Accord.
Right. And Dr. Jamil, what's your take on this, especially in regards to humanitarian transit areas that are being planned in Gaza or outside? Do you think this is an effort for ethnic cleansing that we keep on talking about? And also, does this alignment of Netanyahu with President Donald Trump suggest a new regional architecture that is being pursued, where Israel is at the center and Palestinians are at the periphery?
That he has spelled it out many a times, Donald Trump as well as Netanyahu, that they want the Gazans to really leave that area, and it sinks and it synergizes with their very original plan and very original thoughts which they had developed, and back in 1897, as I was mentioning earlier. And the history has proved that the all succeeding years they've been trying to occupy as much land as was possible, and they are doing it. And this effort of the ceasefire, what they are making, the ceasefire seems to be at the aim, having an aim to occupy the land permanently, and that is in consultation with all the neighboring countries. To what extent it materializes? Well, the United States, if it pressurizes, they have the leverage, and it seems that it's becoming almost a reality, because what people would have choice? 95% houses are not livable. And Donald Trump is on record saying that in any case, those buildings are not livable, those which are still intact, and most of them are otherwise totally destroyed. So this death, devastation, and destruction was aimed to really push these people from the Gaza and occupy them. What happened to the A, B, and C area of Palestine? The A area, Palestinian Authority that it is supposed to be in full control of them, and whereas it's combined security of the Palestinian Authority, and mostly it's Israel, and the B area is totally Israel security, and C area is 100% Israel security. So they are already occupied, and this 365 square kilometer of Gaza, now that is the one piece which was governed totally independently, controlled by Hamas, internationally accepted since 2007. So that was the main goal Netanyahu was mentioning yesterday also, that unless we achieve those goals and our entire what we have planned, we will keep doing that. And if we just do the reverse engineering of what they've been doing past 21 months, we'll find out that that's the total, and that's the aim they had, and that's what they are doing. They reverting back to that ceasefire. Yes, it's going to happen, it appears. But then Hamas is quite apprehensive. Hamas says that, okay, at least agree and give us a guarantee that this pause of 60 days, how can you call it a ceasefire? It's a pause. Pause would lead us to a negotiation which could end the war. And it's as simple as that. But that's not being agreed with it, because Netanyahu, it appears, that wants to get those remaining living hostages released in the dead body, and after that he will have a free hand again. People are already, half dead, so he would like that. And then he was again saying yesterday night, after the dinner, what he had with Donald Trump, and he said that people would have a choice to really leave Gaza. If you pressurize them, if you kill them and bring everyone in killing zone and start killing them, and daily, it's not dozens, it's even one day they just kill about 100, in 1 week 600 people they killed on those distribution points. So what choices people would have if they don't have any support by the member countries of 57 countries? Yes, there is a pressure worldwide. People have those who have those soft corner for the humanity, for the human rights. They have been protesting all over the world, but does it make any difference? Because those rulers, they are under the influence, and those rulers are aligned with each other and under the influence of Israeli lobby. And it's not my
Right.
statement. Israeli lobby has very well documented by John Mearsheimer, an American professor who teaches in Chicago and a very renowned political scientist. He has proved it, that how that lobby works. And Netanyahu's this 1 week stay there, whatever opposition there might be, he's meeting the administration people and he's meeting the congressman. So he'll iron it out with the help of the Israeli lobby. And what aim Netanyahu has, he's going to achieve that, because he doesn't have any resistance. So far as his troops getting exhausted, the entire Israel is fully trained, and they keep mustering yes, there is a pressure, but still pressure against what?
Right.
Hamas,
Of course,
strength
there
has
is.
really been reduced. Yes,
Right,
Hamas
Dr.
strength.
Jamil. Of course. Yeah, please finish your sentence.
Yeah, Hamas resistance now is not the same what it was, 2 years ago. So Hamas has suffered a lot of the losses, and therefore Hamas can resist only to a limited point, because Hamas is not getting the support which they are supposed to. Even the United Nations General Assembly Resolution 2649, it supports the countries who would help the resistant fighter, the freedom fighters, as it happened in East Timor, as it happened in many other countries. But then since Israel and India both, they've been able to somehow orchestrate that those people are the terrorists and not the resistance fighter, or
Right.
not the freedom. They
Of
block
course.
all these aid which could go to them. Why they block even the food assistance, and that too they have
Just a
blocked.
death trap that is, of course, being orchestrated by this food supply that is being given. But coming to the point, Mr. Nazir, that Dr. Jamil earlier pointed out about the pause that is being mentioned in this 60 days ceasefire, and of course that should be taken in account, and that is being taken into account, is that Hamas has weakened over time. What's your take on that first? And also, do you think that with other regional countries and proxies in the region like Hezbollah weakened over time during the past 2 years, do you think that Netanyahu is now pushing for a larger plan of reshaping the Middle East?
Yes, definitely. Israel is trying to reshape the Middle East, sometimes through war, sometimes through peace and normalizing its relations with new potential friends in the region. After the Israel have destroyed the leadership of Hezbollah and carried out very strong operations in Lebanon, and after its war with Iran, it have marginalized Iran's role in the whole issue and in the whole situation of Gaza. Iran is not in a stronger situation to negotiate or to give more support to the people of Gaza through its partners in Gaza and in the region. Donald Trump, by interfering in the war between Iran and Israel, he was more logical, more understanding than Netanyahu, that this war need to stop. Netanyahu is not in a position to bring more and more enemies to him every day and become a part in a bigger war, in a bigger bring more miserability to his people. So the situation is quite complicated, but for the Israelis, definitely by the West backing them and still supporting them officially and unofficially, they are still in a position to enforce their role, to enforce their orders on the Palestinians who are in a very miserable situation. I think there is a lot of pressure on the Palestinians, on the people of Gaza, but they have to be more, they have showed actually that they are so flexible in the negotiations in Qatar and with the Americans as well. So we have just to pray and hope for the betterness and for the saving the lives who are killed every day.
Right, and for this humanitarian crisis to end. But Dr. Amna, I want your take on the significance of diplomacy and regional impact, especially as Mr. Nazir alluded to. Of course, different aspects of the inaction by the West, but at the same time, the recent statement by the BRICS that condemned Israel's war on Gaza. Do you think that there is a shift now that is going to be taking place in coming days?
Apparently, it looks like, but I think BRICS is not the Western countries. That is actually a blend
exactly.
Of,
that's what my question is about. That since West has shown inaction over time, now the regional countries and alliances like BRICS have shown condemnation for Israel's action.
You see, there was a meeting of SCO recently, and then there was a meeting of ECO, that is also regional organization, and SCO is very significant because it has a lot of membership that is cross continental. Across the continent, countries are there. Some are the members and some are sitting as observers. Same is the case with BRICS. BRICS is emerging economic forum, regional economic forum, but that is also transcontinental. So, I think that the war inflicted on Iran was actually the motivational force that activated the regional forces and organizations to block that war against the American and European interest and Israeli interest.
Do you think it carries more weight now?
It is going to, but Israel is trying to stop there because they are talking about peace plan. Same is the case with Mr. Trump, but he is giving the same solution as he was proposing in the beginning in a different guise. So, I think that this response from regional countries can bring Israel and US to the solution which is in favor of, which would be in favor of the Gazans and the Middle Eastern countries. And if they would not encash, they would not make capitalize on the gains which Iran and the regional powers gain in war against Israel, then there would be a major setback for the Muslims of this region and the countries of GCC countries especially, because when there would be greater Israel, all these countries would be included in that. And if Iran could not show the muscles before, then that war could have been extended to Iran, and they must think in terms of capturing the area across the Gulf. But so Iranian response was swift and decisive. So, it was not possible, and Israel is coming back to the solution that they call what they call so-called peace plan.
Right. And Dr. Jamil, what's your take on the Israel's domestic politics and political agenda when we look at especially it from the aspect of humanitarian aid, and Israel is blocking that aid? Do you think there is a fear among Israeli circles of losing the narrative? Since they are so much resistant to blocking the aid that is going to Gaza?
Well, from Israel, my perspective is different. From Israel, the government of Israel doesn't find much pressure on them so far as the occupation is concerned. So far as the hostages release is concerned, tremendous pressure. Yes, there has been a pressure, and there are still pressure. Even yesterday, there was a protest, but not as humongous as it has been in past. So yes, there is a pressure to the extent of release of hostages, and there is no pressure in terms of and there was no pressure in terms of striking Iran. They all were almost one in that case, because there is a collective agenda of Israel. And of course backed by the Israeli lobby. So therefore that would continue, and because if there was a homegrown resistance in Israel, then they wouldn't have done what they have done, the ethnic cleansing, killing about more than 320 UN workers, killing about more than 57,000 people, and more than 440 aid workers. Mosques, about 700 mosques have been demolished completely. Journalists, about 230 journalists killed. So far, they wouldn't have done that if there was a homegrown pressure in Israel. So, to the extent, yes, to the release for the release of hostages, that's true. But so far as the humanitarian work aid is concerned, I would hardly find much resistance to Netanyahu. And Netanyahu, besides his own 30 years political, very solid ideas about Palestine, that Palestine doesn't have any right to have a state. Palestine, he feels that it should be Israel. One together, it should be one state, and that should be Israel. And it seems that because there is no resistance of 57 countries bloc, which is OIC, and there is hardly any resistance from the Western countries. So therefore, it appears that gradually the way they have succeeded, they would And the main litmus test for me would be if Donald Trump and Netanyahu, who even spoke yesterday about shifting the Gazan people, pushing the Gazan, the remaining Gazan people to the
Right, right. Finally, Dr. Jamil, as we are concluding the show, your last comments, what a permanent ceasefire must and should look like uh, diplomatically, politically, and militarily?
Very simple. We have Oslo Accord. They follow that because that was agreed trilaterally by Israel, also signed. And secondly, United Nations Resolution 242, where they should go back to their position before 1967, which they are not going to do that. So therefore, we should not really have expectations which could take us to delusion side. We should accept the reality. The world should accept the reality that Israel is succeeding in whatever they have planned to a long time back, and now Netanyahu is also succeeding in Iran. That was a different thing, but because they got the befitting response, so they had to really come to the term. But even now, they say that no, nothing doing, no nuclear and all. So they are really regrouping again with the help of United States to make sure that that Iran do not reach to that level, which could be the uranium of the weapon grade. And you can expect attack, a few years down the line maximum on Iran again. And there are other countries also, they could be in line. Any country, like it happened with Iraq, like it happened with Libya, like it happened with Syria, like it happened with Iran. So anyone who stands in the way of Israel, they could definitely have some kind of a retribution what Israel has been doing. And they've been doing and succeeding unabated. There is hardly any check. There is no international law which which Israel respects. So violation of international law is the order of the day for Israel, and that seems that it will continue. Excuse me. So then that's what my perspective is about the whole thing. Unless the bloc like the OIC, which was constituted and which has within its own charter, in the very preamble of the charter, in paragraph 14, that is a Palestine cause would be prime, and they would defend that cause, and even their own article number 14, they have very clear indication that there would be Assistant Secretary General would be taking care of all these Palestinians movement and Palestinian plan. So unless they do that, I don't think the Israel would deter in whatever they have planned to, and their plans are very clear. They have spelled it out, and the
Right.
complacency goes on among the bloc of OIC.
Right. Thank you very much, Dr. Jamil Ahmed Khan, for joining us in today's program. Thank you very much, Mr. Nazir Moheed, for joining us in today's program. Thank you very much, Dr. Amna Mehmood, for joining us in today's discussion. That's all from Game Changer tonight. Take care. Hafiz.